Hello, I'm Lieutenant Michael Zang with the South Carolina Highway Patrol Employment Office. Just spending a few minutes of your time describing the process to you to hopefully assist you throughout your employment process. All right, your employment process will start with a phase 1, which consists of your PT obstacle course that you will run, which is called the PAT test, a Nelson-Denny comprehension and vocabulary test, as well as an employment orientation where you will attend in person to get more specific information of the process after the PT and Nelson-Denny orientation. Phase 2 consists of a polygraph test and a background investigation, which again will be discussed in more detail at your orientation. And then the final phase will consist of your oral interview board, which is your professional interview with us, the Highway Patrol Command Staff, as well as your medical testing, which again will be further discussed during your orientation. Your general timeline when you submit your application to final phase 3 time of hire depends on several things. One, depends on your timing, when you may be graduating college, when you may be exiting the military, or just when you're able to jump into that next career. However, the typical timeline is about 4 to 6 months, again, depending on your schedule, conflicts, things like that. Good thing about this process is we can start you right away, and then as you progress in the process, get to that interview, the final phase, we can actually discuss timelines in more detail, and we will work with you to try to get you into the next available class that best suits you, but also is the next available for us as well. One of the most common questions we receive in the employment office is, if selected and sent to training, where would I be assigned? In other words, if you're from Columbia, would you end up having to go to Greenville? Or if you're from Greenville, would you have to be assigned in Charleston? And the answer to that question is it depends on several things. One, you the applicant. Where would you like to be assigned? Well, if you're from Columbia, do you want to stay in Columbia? Or are you willing to go to Greenville or Charleston? The other thing is, at the time of assignments, where we are needing troopers the most. Based on the colonel's discretion, he will assign those applicants, usually based on the agency needs at the time, where we need troopers, and also it depends on where the individual applicant wants to be stationed. Probably the biggest one is not being honest, not being truthful with your application process while completing your application, while doing various steps in the employment process. Also not being prepared for the PT test and passing the PT test and things like that are probably the most common reasons. One of the reasons applications may not move forward in the process is because it was not completely filled out, such as maybe you didn't update an employer and you have an employer section blank. We typically like to see at least 10 years of employment history and maybe a handful of references listed out on your SC Jobs application. And just keep in mind when you fill out that application, make sure you update it since the last time you've applied for an online job or online SC job, because sometimes you might have old information, or you might not have the correct contact information or wrong email, and if it's been a while, just be sure to make sure you update that and take your time filling that application out. A complete and accurate application is always much better first impression than an incomplete application. Keep in mind, once you apply, be looking for an email within a week or two, and always check your spam and junk mail. Reason why is our email account being a .gov email account, notorious going your spam and junk mail. So there could be you actually were selected to move forward in the process, but for whatever reason it went to your spam and junk mail and maybe you didn't receive it and think that you missed out on an opportunity when we were trying to reach out to you to schedule you for the next step. So for that reason, be sure to always check your spam and junk mail, especially early on in the employment process. The Highway Patrol, just like any law enforcement job or career, is a calling. You got to have a desire to serve both your community, the public, the motoring public in our situation, because our mission and goal is to save lives. How do you save lives? Through education and enforcement. And you got to be willing to come out here, work days and nights and holidays and weekends, and slow the motoring public down. Everyone you interact with, whether it's writing a ticket, changing a tire, or working a collision on, you want to make a positive impact in that individual's lives. They might not want to get a ticket, but you hopefully slowed them down or kept them from making a worse decision and driving under the influence or something like that. We're looking for individuals that have a desire to serve both their community and their surrounding state, and hopefully help us save lives, which is our mission and goal in the Highway Patrol.